the night of Friday, September 13th, I went to an on-campus party. There was a lot of alcohol, and I got there late, about 11 p.m. I slammed about 3 beers in the first hour and a half I was there. It was very crowded and people were dancing, and a lot of people seemed to already be drunk. I hung out with my friend Jeff for a while until I noticed Amy dancing, Amy Kraft. She was really cute, and I noticed her on campus before a couple times. I went up to her and we started talking. She seemed a little tipsy and she was in a loose mood. We talked for a while, and I think I got her about 2 or 3 beers within the next hour and a half. I didn't have anything more to drink because the 3 beers I slammed earlier were doing the trick for me just fine. It got to be around 1 a.m. and somebody started passing out Jello shots. I didn't have any because I didn't want to mix beer and alcohol and liquor, but Amy had a couple. She had 3. We danced a lot, and then I got her a few more shots. She went off to the bathroom, and after that I couldn't find her, and that really bummed me out. I wanted to hang out. I waited around to see if she would show up again, but she didn't. I started leaving the party, I took off, and then I saw somebody vomiting by the bushes nearby. I looked over and I saw Amy. She was throwing up. I went over to help her, but she seemed to be in pretty bad shape. I told her I'd take her home, and she showed me where her dorm was, and she leaned on my arm. When we got to her dorm, I helped her inside. I was about to leave, and she stopped me. She told me to stay. She told me to grab her a glass of water, so I did. I went to go, and she grabbed me again and told me to stay again. After she grabbed me, I turned around and she kissed me hard. We kissed for a while, but she wasn't feeling well and went into the bathroom again. After she came out of the bathroom, she laid down. She wasn't feeling well. We kissed some more. I started to massage her neck, and she said she felt better. 20 minutes later, she started to kiss me again and fondle me. She took off her shirt. She took off all my clothes, and so I started to kiss her all over, and she said she wanted to lay down again. I asked her if she was okay, and she said she was. Then I asked her if she had a condom, and she said she had one in her purse. I went to get it, and when I got back to the couch, she was out again. She woke up about 20 minutes later, and I suggested, you should just go to sleep, but she insisted she was feeling better and started to give me oral sex. After a while, she put the condom on me, and we had sex. It was great. It was wild. She was wild. She liked to be on top. We spoke about the early morning, and I gave her my number, and I left. The next day, she called me to ask me why my name was written on the side table on a pad next to her bed. I told her about meeting her at the party and about our evening together. She seemed to get upset. She remembered meeting me at the party, but she didn't remember much after that. I asked if, we could ever see each other again, and she got upset. She started crying. She hung up on me. 2 days later, I was notified by the dean that Amy had filed charges against me, and here I am.
Well, on Friday, September 13th, I went to an on-campus party. Well, I'll admit I was doing a lot of drinking and dancing and getting to know people. I had at least 4 drinks in my system within the first hour I was there. And then I met Todd. I remember he came up to me on the dance floor and started to dance with me. He was really good looking, and so was the other guy he was with, Jeff. I met him at a party a week or so before that. I remember drinking some more, and we all danced, and then Todd went to go get me some Jello shots, which were really strong and nasty. I wasn't feeling well. I went to the bathroom, but it was really crowded and hot, so I stepped outside for some fresh air. I remember sitting on the stoop feeling nauseated, and I went over to the bushes and got sick. Then Todd came out, and he came over and helped me. I remember walking home with him, throwing up some more in my bathroom, and passing out, but nothing else. When I woke up the next day, there was a pad with his name and number on it, and a used condom in the toilet. So I freaked out. I called him immediately and asked him exactly what happened. He told me everything about the party, and I remembered all of that, and then he told me that we had sex and asked me out again. I hung up the phone and cried. I didn't remember any of it. I was afraid I might be pregnant. Todd assured me he wore a condom, but I told my roommate Sarah all about it, and she suggested that I call campus police. When Lieutenant Smith came over, I was immediately interviewed, and he took me over to the hospital for a rape kit and testing for date rape drugs. Perk showed that I had sex, but there were no illegal drugs in my system. The next day, I told my faculty advisor about it.
Hi, hopefully you've watched a pretty interesting video of the case of Todd and Amy. One of the attorneys who was actually a part of this lawsuit has gone around the country, and he's given over 2,000 presentations to hundreds of thousands of students. And he has asked them as the audience, will you please be the jury? You make a decision. Is Todd, should he be guilty of sexual assault? Or is he not guilty because Amy never said no, right? She initiated the sex act itself. In his presentations, he said he's never gotten a unanimous decision, that people are very, very opinionated about who's to blame in this case. In the actual case, the jury, 12 people, 5 women, 7 men, found Todd guilty, second-degree sexual assault. And the rationale did not have to do with how much he may have intentionally gotten her drunk. That was not part of the decision. It didn't have to do with whether or not Amy was a previous drinker, or whether or not she had said yes. The only decision was she capable of giving consent to sex? It is kind of interesting that people are curious about Amy and her previous behavior. Would it matter that she was more sexually active or not? In the actual case, she was a virgin, and sometimes that makes a difference for people, but again, it really comes down to, was she capable of making consent or not? So it is kind of interesting to me that people are obsessed with her past. People also wonder, well, Todd said, I didn't have anything, no knowledge that she was intoxicated, but he was a bartender. He also claimed not to know that grain alcohol was that powerful, that could make somebody incapacitated really quickly. Amy was estimated to have about 20 drinks, the equivalent of 20 drinks. Jello shots are extremely powerful, so 5 Jello shots plus 5 beers, about 20 drinks, or blood alcohol content of 0.34. Very difficult for anybody to actually stay conscious with that much alcohol in their body. This is actually a pretty clear case in one sense, that Todd's own admission helped make this very clear. In other words, most of the time it's he said, she said, and investigators have to go ask other witnesses or try to find out the blood alcohol content of both people and make some assessment, because it really comes down to just who do you believe. In this case, Todd's own testimony basically made it more clear. Having said that, some people worry, well, what if the woman is making a false claim? What if she's making it up? And most of the comprehensive studies show that about 7% of the time, women are making a false accusation. But that's actually the same percentage of people who make a false accusation that somebody stole something from them when they never did, or that somebody physically assaulted them. Both men and women report about 7% of the time a false positive. They make up a fake report. And I'm not saying that's not important. We absolutely should worry about false reports, but I think it's interesting that people put so much energy into worrying about a false report when there's also false negatives. In other words, lots and lots of times where women are sexually assaulted and they never bring it forward. So out of 100 cases of sexual assault, 7 might be false reporting, but 93 are actual cases, and there's probably hundreds more of actual cases of people getting sexual assaults that are never brought forward. So I'm personally more concerned about false negatives than I am about false positives. So that's just something to consider.